two places we could go from there that I would love to interject. First of all, do you think that Jesus had knowledge of the info that's in this book? Not just Jesus, but the prophets and apostles had some of the knowledge of these books, and they had it. They were passed around and read as well.
Yeah, there was obviously there's a reference, particularly in Jude, where it references the book of Enoch, and so we know there was legitimately an uncorrupted book. And is this the one? We're not sure, but what we do know, what I do know, is that certainly Jesus, as being the Word of God and being the Alpha Omega and the first creation of God, he would be very well aware of all of this information that would be in the book of Enoch, and whatever else may not be in there, or whatever may be not quite right. So certainly he would. I think many of the prophets would have had access to the book of Enoch as well, whether or not it was part of the the hagiography that was part of the ancient scrolls in Jerusalem, or even before that, we're not sure. And there's so many books that were lost. The Old Testament was sort of built upon. So I think at some point in time they had it. We don't know exactly when they lost it, but I'm pretty sure that most of the prophets would be aware of it based on the history of the sort of the ancient ology of how far the prophets go back,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I would think they were aware of it.
It definitely gives you a look into the spirit realm. And the weird thing is, a lot of those books that were taken out or apocryphal books, they deal with the spirit world and how they operate and how they affect mankind and humanity and things like that. That's very interesting that that's something that most of these books had in common. I have a friend of mine who's a scholar in the area as well. He made this statement. It's kind of a bold statement, but I tend to believe it. He says that you can't fully understand the Bible without the Book of Enoch. Would you agree with that?
No, I would disagree with that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a good companion book, but I think there's so much that's in the Bible that people overlook, and it's
Exactly.
there. It, but I think after you read
Mm-hmm.
Enoch,
It fills in the holes.
it fills in the holes, and it will help you flag verses and passages, and it'll just all of a sudden pop out to you. So
Mm-hmm.
I certainly, not so sure I would go quite that far, but it will really help you
Yeah.
understand, the
So you think that there's a lot in Genesis 6 that would kind of fill in those gaps too, right?
oh, absolutely. I mean, when it comes to the giants, I mean, we get very stingy details before the flood. We get more details of them after the flood, at least of more tribes and how they affected the early post-Diluvian epoch to a certain degree. But Enoch, I mean, it's a large book that is basically devoted to the antediluvian age.